I come to you today looking particularly dishevelled. Well, I can't say particularly today, simply to show off this dressing gown, because I've been thinking for a while, I need a dressing gown, right? And went into the shop last week. We'll get into the full story in a second. And I saw this and I didn't buy it straight away. And I left it for about another week. And it was still there, so I thought, you know what? I'm having it. It's been here long enough. I've given the shoppers a chance to buy it. They haven't bought it. I'll buy it. And it was a bit expensive, so I thought, oh, well, it must be rather new. Brought it home. Did the old thing of washing it first, because that's the type of person I am. Even though I work at a charity shop, I know that we don't have the resources to wash it. And also, I've got a blanket at home for when it gets cold, but you just can't wrap it round you, can you? So, dressing gown. Well, sat there earlier, and I looked down, and I realised, where is it now? Just here, just on the cuff, just right here. Cigarette burn. Well, I'm no smoker. I am no smoker, and I particularly don't want clothes with cigarette burns. And I was looking at it last night, and I realised further down there was another one. I thought, well, quality control at my charity shop has gone down the hill. I'll be having words with my manager. I'll be having words with the volunteers, because we need to look out these things, especially when we're going to charge Charlie such an extortionate amount for a dressing gown. Anyway, I will be going out and acquiring a different one. And, well, basically because it's not new. I don't like... Well, I don't... It's not that it's not new. That's not it. That's not what my problem is. My problem is the cigarette burns. This is something that would have ordinarily gone in the rags, or we would have said damaged on it, and we would have charged less for it. So it's not been caught, and I don't like that. I do not like that. Hi everyone, my name is Charlie, and today I'm going to be talking to you about nothing in particular. Originally, I wanted to record this video on Saturday, but after I spoke to you on Friday, what I thought was just a stuffy nose and a bit of allergies turned out to be a cold. I went into work on the Friday, and my manager had got in touch with me the night before and said as there was something wrong with the till rack at the end of day. So I fixed that on Friday morning, and then I thought, nope, this is a cold. I disinfected everywhere I touched, put my mask on. Well, I'd had my mask on, but I kept my mask on, and then my manager rushed in. Unbeknownst to me, she had to have a staff meeting, which is all happening through Zoom or whatever it is. So she ran off to do that, finished that about an hour later, and then she came through to me, and I was going to say to her, I shouldn't be here, I'm going to have to go home, I don't want to be spreading this about. Well, we had no volunteers. None. The people who were supposed to be there were either on holiday or poorly. So I had to stay, and I had to be on the till. Now I'm behind a plastic screen, I've got my mask, I'm sanitising, aware that I should not be there. It was just a cold, by the way, it was. My manager manages to get some people in, and I get sent home early. Fine. Come home. I set about making leek and potato soup because I think soup will make me feel better. Well, by Saturday morning, I was worse. And Saturday was the day I wanted to record my Woolgathering video. I had to ring my manager, and well, I texted her, I couldn't ring. And I just said, sorry, I can't be there. Had that day off. Sunday we don't open anyway. Monday I was going to call in, but I was feeling compos mentis. I was feeling okay. I'd done this test. It wasn't COVID, so I was okay to go in. And I didn't have the cold symptoms anymore. Well, I've ended up basically spending every spare moment living in this ensemble. And so I just thought I'd show that off. Show off the fact that for the last week, I have been a ball of mucus. It wasn't nice. I always get this worry with colds as well, with being asthmatic, whether it's going to go on my chest. So I'm very aware. I should also mention that I did accidentally make myself a bit worse because I thought to try and get rid of the cold by doing a long walk. It didn't work. I got home on Friday and a proof copy of A Tidy Ending by... Let's try this again. I got home on Friday and a proof copy of A Tidy Ending by Joanna Cannon was waiting for me. And I've not started it yet. I've not read any of it. Ever since I reviewed The Trouble with Goats and Sheep back in 2016, I'd very kindly been sent the proof copies of Joanna Cannon's books, and I am very much looking forward to this. But when I received it, I did not feel like I could read this book when I was so stuffy and full of cold. Anyway, that book comes out in April 2022. I think that might be what the cover is going to look like. Well, that seems to be the picture on the back as well. It's got a magpie on it, always fun. Yeah, if it's anything like every other one of Joanna Cannon's books, it's going to shine a bit of a light on a small community and use it to explore certain issues within society around that, with some Alan Bennett style writing in terms of it's almost... Joanna Cannon has a very good ability at capturing voice as well, and there is usually some humour within the prose, and she is also capable of capturing the idiosyncrasies of people. On Saturday, I wasn't in work either, but the Italian lady, what I speak to, went in, and after speaking to her last Wednesday, I had to cancel yesterday. Still not feeling particularly well enough to talk in Italian. Well, not feeling as though I would be able to hold a conversation anyway. After speaking to her and revealing that I was reading an Italian children's book last year and that I've continued that this year, she left me a copy of Dinosauri il mitico mondo preistorico, which is a Italian book for teaching children about dinosaurs. And I feel like the age might be for primary school children, between the ages of 4 and 8. And apparently that's where my Italian language comprehension lies, because I read the first page so quickly that I felt proud of myself. I, a 29-year-old English man, was proud of himself for doing the bare minimum in Italian. I tell you. I was also thrilled because it was dinosaurs, and I think there are children the world over who always have that dinosaur phase. I had a dinosaur phase, a space phase, a farming phase, but that soon wore off. But this was nice, and I did go through looking for the Triceratops. I found it straight away on Saturday. I can't find... There he is. There he is. Look at it. Anyway, I do have to read some of this before our next conversation and then basically show where I'm learning. So, last week, when I was feeling a certain type of way, I decided I can't cope with all these books I'm reading. I can't do it. I couldn't go into anything heavy. I'd planned to read Unsettled Ground by Claire Fuller or some more adult books. I just thought, I can't be doing with adult books. Way back in March, I think it was, there was a sale on through Waterstones for children's books, and I decided that I was going to use it to build up the series that I'd already started reading. Alongside that, I knew that I'd bought one book and I had to double stack my shelves. So I put this book in the stack behind because it wasn't part of a series. And I thought, do you know what, might be the time to read that. Middle grade fiction doesn't really take much thought, does it, Charlie? I pulled out all these books and I found the one book that I knew that I'd thought of. Maybe if I'd recorded the haul back in March that I said I'd do, I would have remembered these books. But I didn't just find the one book. I found 5 books that I had forgotten that I owned. The book that I remembered was The Weather Weaver by Tamsin Mori, which I believe is set on a Scottish island and is going to have a bit of magic in there. And I thought it might be somewhat reminiscent of the Stormkeeper's Island series by Catherine Doyle. I saw The Unadoptables by Hana. When I discovered this book, I was thrilled by it because it was only a year or two ago that I was reading something and I said I would really like a middle grade book about a load of orphan children coming together and going on an adventure. I specified some magic. There's no magic here, but that's what has happened here. These children are called the Unadoptables and they become friends and they end up having to make a daring escape across the frozen canals of Amsterdam. And then they're going to go on this adventure, and apparently it's all about their friendship. And sometimes I like books that are like that because it reminds me of what I never had. This is a book that well, they're all books I wanted to read, aren't they? That's the thing, they're all books that I wanted to read, I just forgot I owned. Then we have A Vanishing of Griffins by S.A. Patrick, which is a sequel to A Darkness of Dragons, which I read last year or the year before. And I'd really looked forward to this. So basically, the Pied Piper of Hamelin is a villain in this book. And Patch Brightwater and his friends go on quests. And that's what's happening here. And then these next two books, I actually ended up reading straight away. The House at the Edge of Magic by Amy Sparks. And this one, if you were a fan of Diana Wynne Jones back in the day, I think you'll like this. It's a very fast-paced story that does everything it needs to do to tell a concise tale. There's nothing extra here, no extraneous stuff that you need to remove. The story's all here, it's done, you're in, you get out, sorted. I believe there is a sequel now. I'll be interested to read that because I do think that it was a book that had potential to move into a series, but for just one singular magical adventure story, Amy Sparks did incredibly well, and she did something that I think that other people struggle with, which is she kept this whimsical, humorous tone throughout the book, despite the fact she kept the tone. She kept this tone that's whimsical and humorous, still managing to keep it magical and adventurous, and didn't lose that. And even when it came to the villain's reason behind their villainy, there was still something humorous there too, and there was also still this sense of impending doom and threat, and I adored it. In fact, I loved looking at this cover because you could see characters from within its pages, and the only thing I was looking for was the spoon. And then I turned it to the side, and there was my spoon with his kilt on. I was thrilled. And then we have The Strangeworlds Travel Agency by Aldi Lipinski, which I've been meaning to read for ages because a friend of mine who knew about my children's book and always recommends me great middle grade fiction, told me I would enjoy this years ago. They were correct. And basically, Flick Hudson joins the Strangeworlds Society, which is where they have these suitcases and they can travel into other worlds. Now, I will say, it did seem to take a while to get going, and I wasn't really sure where the tale was going to go, and it doesn't really pick up until the 200-page mark, and I feel like it was building up a lot to being a series, and but I also think, on the other side of that, it needed to do that in order to tell its tale, so it's a weird one. I think it's one that I would keep because I think, well, it was good. That's the thing, it was good. And I enjoyed the characters, the characterisation, the story, the careful storytelling that it took its time over. But I did think that the start was a bit slow and meandering, but also think that it needed to be that way. So it's a bit like that about it, really. And then I had plans, you see, this week that I was just going to read all these children's books all week. Because now that I've finished Doris, I thought I'll take a break and finish writing my children's book. Because I wrote that from 2013 to 2014, and then put it aside, didn't do anything because I was writing Doris, and then in 2017 I decided I was going to start rewriting it. Didn't rewrite anything really until the end of 2018, once I'd finished An Heir to Murder, and it's always been the book that I've kept at the side for 4 years, but I really wanted to finish it. And I've been looking at that and I realised it's been a year. well, it was a year yesterday since I'd done any work on it. And I like the story, but I enjoy having it there as a pastime where I can just have fun with my writing. And that might seem weird. It's a story that everyone, well, I say everyone, the writers who have heard it and the readers who have heard portions of it always ask me when something's going to happen with this story because they want to share it with people. The other day I was thinking about a certain chapter in the book, and it was after reading The House at the Edge of Magic when I realised this entire chapter I wrote was completely unnecessary, and that the information I need the character to have, I need to have at the start. And so I know that even once I've rewritten the book, there's still going to be a fair bit of editing to happen. And you know me, that puts me off. But also, I ended up then not reading children's fiction at all because I decided last year after I read The Christmas Chronicles by Nigel Slater, I decided I wanted to do that thing other people do, you know, become really basic and read a diary entry every day, completely forgetting he starts it on the 1st of November, so I was 10 days behind. Either way, I've caught up now. Whilst something put me in the mood. I don't know what it was, I don't know why, but I ended up in the mood to read The Book of Dust, Volume 1, La Belle Sauvage by Philip Pullman. And I started this yesterday. I'm 300 pages in. I'd hoped to finish it yesterday, but I completely messed up and I thought it was shorter than it was. I thought it was only 400 pages and it's actually 570 something. I have a complicated history with his dark materials. It's not complicated at all, really, but that just makes it sound fascinating, doesn't it? So, years ago, and I mean like 20 years, there was a girl in year 5 who was reading The Amber Spyglass. And I liked the look of it. And when we were at Book Exchange, they had The Subtle Knife and The Amber Spyglass. And I wasn't aware it was a series at that point. And I tried to read The Subtle Knife then, but I got lost. So I realised that Northern Lights was the first book. My mum eventually got me a copy. And it was around the time that the film came out, when it was The Golden Compass. My brother got the game on his Nintendo DS, and we competed against each other. I was going to read the book, he was going to read the DS. He was going to play the game and see who finished first. Anyway, really enjoyed Northern Lights, but I couldn't get into The Subtle Knife. And I kept reading Northern Lights and never getting any further than that. And it's just never been the series that I've particularly thought was amazing. I actually quite like the full cast audiobook. It's one that I get on with. Don't ask me why, but I do. So I wasn't really, I wasn't going to be one of the people who thought, oh, I really need this book in my life when it came out. And I got this copy from the charity shop. As I do, anything popular, I wait. And I have to say, I'm not really sure what the point of the book is. Unless, of course, it's just Philip Pullman's way of examining today's world through the world that he's already created. Is it a prequel that's going to provide anything new to the series? I don't know. I know that he does apparently call these equals so that they can be read alongside the his Dark Materials series. But, well, it's just one book, isn't it, meant to be, or something? I don't know. But we'll see. I'm intrigued. It reminds me of the 90s TV shows where there was corruption within big organisations, such as The Demon Headmaster and that sort of thing. Everything that used to be on CBBC, it reminds me of that. And I quite like the tone and the nostalgia that I feel whilst reading this. But is it just nostalgia that is propelling my review to make this better than it is? I think that there is there's quite a hefty amount of time taken where this they call it the League of St. Alexander, where they're getting these school children to rat out their teachers for not doing things in a Christian manner. And I know that we often have Philip Pullman criticising the church, but here I wondered whether it was not being more critical of cancel culture and the way, and him showing his opinion of when students in higher education don't want to hear from certain speakers. And I didn't know whether it was a criticism of the church or more of a criticism of cancel culture here. We know that Pullman uses allegory a lot. Maybe I'll go and watch some interviews or something and find out why it's there, but that's what it felt like to me. You know, there is a lot about people being silenced in here and that sort of thing. There's a lot of going about all over the world and exploring more. It's a weird one because at 300 pages, it doesn't really feel like much has happened. The mystery and the intrigue is still ramping up, but to where? That's the thing. But at the same time, it does feel kind of comfortable to read, and I am enjoying the process of reading it, and maybe that's to its benefit. We'll see. I know that people tend to not like the sequel, the following book, whatever that's called, but yeah. I did actually want to read Northern Lights again, but I don't own his Dark Materials. Then I received some books from friends. So, well, actually, Dane saw in whatever video it was that I had got a copy of The Crow Road from work, so he sent me The Wasp Factory, which I don't know what it's about, but hopefully I enjoy The Crow Road, because otherwise I've got The Wasp Factory with note to do with it. And in the package as well was a book that I didn't know was sending, which was The Gold Guide to Venice. And I have actually visited Venice, but, you know, I like Italy. I want to go back to Venice, so I was quite happy to get it. This picture here, I don't know whether you can see it, is showing the San Giorgio Maggiore, or however you say it. No, that's not showing that. That's the island of it. I don't know what that's showing. All I can tell you is, when we went on a gondola ride, which I didn't want to go on, but my mother made me pay for, someone pointed the well, he moved the paddles anyway. Gondoliere. I can't pronounce it, especially when I've got a stuffy nose still. He just pointed at that. I went, church. Very nice church. Of course, nowadays I'd be able to have more of a conversation with him. Been there, that was nice. Kept walking there, actually. Venice is actually very easy to walk around. Very easy to walk around. So we did it a lot. Very beautiful things to look at there. Me and my mother just wandered about the place. She nearly threw someone into a canal, but that was because he tried to thrust a rose between her breasts. And it does make me... Well, yeah, we should probably go back and visit these places and actually go inside them. We didn't go inside anywhere when we were there, unless it was for coffee. And then I discovered I got Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. And I know that I was sent this by Emily of Novell Novels, and I never showed it. And also, I can't remember when she sent it to me. That's how good of a person I am. Well, we're 26 minutes in, and I ain't talked about anything I wanted to talk about. I mentioned being ill because, you know, I have to be a martyr like that. I have to talk about why I'm looking so dishevelled at the moment. But yeah, also the writing, like I say, the children's book wasn't the book I was talking about writing after Doris, by the way. That's a different book. And I just haven't made any plans for it. I decided I wanted to take a bit of time off, which kind of coincided with everything this week. My mother's still watching all these Hallmark movies, Christmas ones at that. And I just end up shouting at the television. I just don't get on with that kind of cookie-cutter saccharine romance that's very, usually quite Christian in its values. And it's not because I have no issues with Christians. That's not what my problem is. Sometimes in these films, I just wish that they weren't so stereotypical. Yeah, so basically they resort to stereotypes to tell their tales, and I don't like how when a woman has made something of herself outside of her hometown, they always have to give it up for love and go back to her hometown, and people dislike her in her hometown because she moved and made something of herself, and I just dislike that. They don't do it to the men. When the man comes back, they just greet him with open arms and love him. But the woman, it's always as though she's done something wrong and she's the enemy, and I'm not here for that. But anyway, yeah, I saw my friend Joy on Tuesday, and we had a catch-up, even though we're seeing each other every week at the group, because we don't go out afterwards for coffee. You don't really have time to sit and chat. So that was nice. We were sorting out the Christmas event for the writers group, which we haven't done for 2 years, naturally. We didn't meet last year. Well, we didn't meet at all last year. We didn't meet from March until this September. Wow. I can't believe it's been so long. We're still hoping to get our numbers up, so that'll be fun. Tell you, I felt sorry for Charlie Brooke, because she's just been getting messages where I'm high off Lemsip. I thought I could understand it if I tried to medicate myself with brandy, but being high off cold medicine's just not funny, is it? It's not like, oof. You know, you could have serious medical condition. Anyway, I think I'm going to beg her off because I haven't really said anything. There was more I wanted to talk about, but I've forgotten it. All of it. Every single little bit of what I wanted to talk about has gone out my head. I feel like I've spoken for too long now. And frankly, I want a cup of tea. So I'm going to go. I'll see you when I see you. I hope that you got something out of this video, even if it was sheer boredom. I can't remember what I've even talked about. I'll see you when I see you. And until next time, that is all.